Dark Bleatings, everyone. I've ranked all of the Stephen King before, but I did it across 8 videos because I wanted to talk in a bit of detail about all of the books. I thought it might be a fun challenge to try and rank all of the Stephen King books, all the novels and short story collections, in 30 minutes or less, which is why I'm talking so fast and looking so stressed. I'm going to just try to summarize each book with a sentence, as few words as possible, just to tell you what the book is about a little bit. I can go into more detail in the comments. For the reason that I'm trying to go as few words as possible, I will have summarized some of these books quite badly. But yeah, here's every Stephen King novel and short story collection ranked in the order from worst to best, in my opinion, although there are very few that I actually don't like. So yes, let's begin. 79, The Colorado Kid, published by Hardcase Crime. It's a story within a story. 78, Blaze, Of Mice and Men, but Stephen King style. 77, Doohickey, Phantom Limb and Art? 76, Roadwork, Man Won't Sell House. 75, The Regulators, Desperation Twinner, didn't realise that at the time, much confusion on my part. 74, Billy Summers, Hitman is also aspiring author. 73, Fairy Tale, teenage boy goes on Wizard of Oz style fantasy adventure. 72, The Bazaar of Bad Dreams, short story collection, decent. 71, Joyland, funfair with ghosts. 70, The Eyes of the Dragon, YA The Dark Tower tie-in is fantasy. 69, The Running Man, a man is on the run and it's televised and the death contest. 68, Elevation, man loses weight but not mass. 67, The Institute, kids with paranormal powers kept in the institute. 66, Lisey's Story, gripping, intriguing tale, quite an annoying couple, but at least one of them's already dead. 65, Sleeping Beauties, worldwide, women just refuse to wake up. Can't really blame them. 64, Rage, a troubled teen holds his class hostage. 63, The Talisman, coming-of-age fantasy tale. 62, Gwendy's Button Box, little girl climbs dangerous steps, receives magical box. 61, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, short story collection, good. 60, The Gunslinger, the first in the Dark Tower series, would like to reread it now that I've read the whole series. 59, Just After Sunset, short story collection, good. 58, Bag of Bones, an author and ghosts. 57, The Dark Tower, the final book in the Dark Tower series. It's the finale. 56, Everything's Eventual, short story collection, yay. 55, Desperation, a nuts cop holds a whole town hostage, also there might be an evil god. 54, Black House, the sequel to The Talisman, a much darker story. 53, The Dark Man, an illustrated prosy poem, which is the impetus, or based on the impetus for the inspiration for the Randall Flagg, those were words I said. 52, Charlie the Choo Choo, blame the mono, but for kids, yay! 51, Song of Susanna, this is the Dark Tower 5? The Dark Tower 6, Susanna's a badass. 50, Rose Madder, one of the greatest openings ever, but then weird evil hand puppet? Wait, the hand puppet was an evil. 49, Insomnia, I absolutely love the protagonist, Ralph. This is a massive universe tie-in that makes more sense if you've read things like The Dark Tower and other Stephen King works. These are exceeding my word count, so but good. Man Can't Sleep. 48, Dreamcatcher, shit weasels and really, really excellent characters and aliens. 47, 4 Past Midnight, 4 novellas, mostly great, one I didn't like as much. 46, also a collection of novellas, all great. 45, Gwendy's Final Task, the third and final book in the Gwendy trilogy, Gwendy in Space. Whee! 44, The Dead Zone. Man almost dies or does die and comes back, can't quite remember, memory hazy, trying to do video too fast, develops paranormal powers, also King might be a prophet. 43, End of Watch, the third and final book in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, although there are other books featuring those characters, rounded off the series in a very unexpected way. 42, Cell, techno horror rage zombies. 41, The Outsider. Man definitely commits a murder, but also man definitely couldn't have committed the murder. 40, Thinner. Man enjoys his curse, at first. 39, Different Seasons. 4 novellas, 3 absolutely outstanding, 1 merely really good. 38, Needful Things. Shop is weird. 37, Cycle of the Werewolf. A gorgeously illustrated werewolf novella / short story. 36, Wizard and Glass, The Dark Tower 4. It's a big sprawling story, absolutely loved it. 35, The Dark Half, author's pseudonym does not want to die. 34, Under the Dome, town inexplicably and suddenly trapped under giant dome. 33, Later, Stephen King sort of meets The Sixth Sense, also there's an awesome universe tie-in. 32, The Wind Through the Keyhole, an extra The Dark Tower story with the most tragically beautiful backstory. 31, Revival, a slightly odd life story becomes absolutely horrifying, especially at the end there. Wow. 30, Carrie, an unfairly excellent debut novel. A young lady with paranormal powers. If It Bleeds, 4 novellas, all of them are really good. 28, Dolores Claiborne, my favourite murderer, accused of the wrong murder. 27, Firestarter, little girl with paranormal powers pursued by evil institution. 26, Mr. Mercedes, evil Mercedes murderer maniac pulls retired detective out of retirement. 25, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, basically a YA feminist survival story. It's really good. 24, Wolves of the Calla, which is The Dark Tower 5, genre blending madness. 23, The Green Mile, heart-wrenching supernatural death row story. 22, The Tommyknockers, murderous levitating vending machine. 21, The Shining, devastating family story with ghosts. 20, Full Dark, No Stars, 4 exceptionally excellent murder-themed novellas. 19, 11, 22, 63, yep, time travel romance with extremely high stakes. 18, Finders Keepers. That threw me off. Quick, Kale, don't lose it now, goddammit. 18, Finders Keepers, the second in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. People take books really seriously. 17, Salem's Lot, really scary small town vampires. 16, Christine, evil car seduces young man, ruins life. 15, Misery, best-selling author trapped with lunatic, no help coming. 14, The Long Walk, people have to walk a long way. Definitely a huge influence on the televised performative survival genre. 13, Cujo, trapped in car that won't run, rabid dog, oh shit. 12, The Wastelands, The Dark Tower 3, the whole gang comes together, yay! 11, You Like It Darker, short story collection, and King really excelled himself with this one, it's amazing. 10, Holly, oh yeah, that's right, Holly's in my top 10. Love Holly Gibney from the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, and I think I just said some words wrong. There are really, really good villains in this one. 9, Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining that no one knew they wanted, but it's amazing. Danny Torrance is back. Also really great villains in this one too. 8, The Drawing of the Three, this is the second Dark Tower book. All my friends are here, yay! 7, Gerald's Game, lady trapped in house, handcuffed to bed, no help coming. 6, Night Shift, short story collection perfection. 5, Pet Sematary, sometimes dead is better, sometimes dead is better. I don't want to go down that road. 4. Skeleton Crew. The Mist. The Mist is probably my favourite Stephen King story of all time. It's a novella that's in this short story collection. Also in this collection, I believe we have The Raft and The Jaunt. It's really good. I ranked it lower on my last rankings and I was wrong. Wrong, I tell you. 3. From a Buick 8. The book that no one talks about, but I don't know why. Scary Car Trunk is my summary for this one. 2. The Stand. Global Apocalypse. Wait. Can you have an apocalypse that isn't global? Doesn't apocalypse mean Which means number 1, of course, is It. And that hasn't changed from my rankings last time. My top 3 is still my top 3. And I actually can't believe this. I've done it. I've done it in like 20 minutes. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that, which means I get to talk a little bit about It. So, this is very dear to me, even though it's not one of my childhood reads. I didn't read this until about 6 years ago, I think. The Stand is the first book I remember reading, and I know I read that when I was 12 for the first time. And I really, really loved it, and it was my favourite for such a long time, but this one has just about topped it. Because, first of all, the Losers Club are so dear to me. I feel like I would have been in that gang when I was in school. Like, I wish I'd had, you know, a group like that. Not necessarily pursued by a cosmic ultimate evil, but just, you know, a nice little gang where, you know, we self-identified as losers and no one else liked us. And I did kind of have that gang, smaller though, much smaller. It's a great sort of like will good triumph over evil kind of story. It's 7 coming of age stories. We've got 7, you know, main characters here, all very distinctive from each other, and their friendships are really deep and wholesome, and this book really does have like that innocence that you don't tend to get in a lot of stories, even stories that feature children, in horror anyway. I can't speak for other genres. I'm sure there are other genres that, like maybe fantasy genres, that use children a lot as their main characters and protagonists and stuff. But I mean like a book written for adults that features child characters. The villain is one of the greatest. It's been memed to death. Everybody knows Pennywise, even if they haven't seen the films or read the books or anything. So it's such a iconic, recognizable horror villain for really good reason. It's such a great idea to have this creature that kind of reads the minds of its victims, and it becomes the thing that they fear most to like paralyze them. And because, you know, like with a lot of monster stories, you know, if someone's really scared, then that makes for a better eat. So there's that. Also, I really liked that back when this came out, it was around about the John Wayne Gacy time. So the first time that really like clowns suddenly became sort of like a cultural fear phenomenon, but they weren't really regarded as like terrifying creatures like just in general in society before. And this plus the John Wayne Gacy stuff is, I think, in my opinion, what sort of like really propelled the image of a clown as something to be like super feared. And the way that it's used in this book, I think like people are always like, oh, Pennywise the clown, but the clown is the least of it. But it's used really cleverly because in the book and in the original TV miniseries, the Pennywise appears as the clown initially to the kids because that's the least threatening thing it can appear as. And it's, you know, to lull them into a false sense of security. And it's sort of like a, you know, it's a friendly image. It's a friendly character that children are normally encouraged to interact with. And then once it's kind of like got them, then it becomes like whatever beast it is. I'm very confused about why in the newer films it appears as the terrifying thing first and then is the clown after. I guess that adaptation of the film, they wanted, I guess because now clowns are considered very frightening, and they updated the film into modern day in the 80s as opposed to 50s and 80s as it was originally done. Maybe that's why they made that switch, because now if a clown just appeared to you on the street, that would be very frightening, as opposed to in the 50s where maybe you just think, huh, a clown. So maybe that's why that was done. I'm gonna have to just briefly touch on that scene because people are gonna ask why I haven't talked about it, why I'm just ignoring it or whatever. And the scene, of course, is the scene in the sewers. And all I have to say about that is that I don't necessarily agree with the absolute onslaught of online criticism about it. Hear me out. Yes, any sort of sexual scene between children is going to be icky to read, and as an adult it's a bit icky. However, I think that maybe in the conversation that's happening about it, I feel like either the context and the reason it's in there in the book, the way I read it anyway, I feel like it's either getting lost or it's being ignored completely. So this is very much tied into Bev's story from where I'm sitting. So Bev's the book deals with childhood fears, and very deep childhood fears, and Bev has got a very legitimate real world horror going on in her life. She lives alone with her dad, who's mentally and physically abusive. She's very afraid of him, and he's starting to look at her differently because she's growing up, and it spells horrible trouble for her. Like, if her life is bad as a kid, it's going to be way worse as a teenager. And then she starts her period, and it's a disaster to her in her mind. She doesn't want her dad to know that. She just doesn't, that to her, like womanhood to her and sex to her, because of where that attention is coming from and where the focus on womanhood is for her, it's a disaster. It's a horrifying disaster that means that she's a smart girl. She knows what her dad is thinking. It's horrific. And by the time we get to this scene, Bev's a loner before she has these boys as her friends. This group of kids, they're so special. They're platonic soulmates. They love each other. It's really wholesome and really pure. So while I understand on the face of it why people criticize this scene, I do think that what Stephen King's intention behind it, I think that people kind of don't get it or something, because to me it just feels like this is a point of Bev's journey where this sex and that kind of stuff would have been a massive hang up and fear of hers, more so than it would be for other teenage girls. But in this group, this is how they've chosen to sort of cement their bond, where at a time where all their lives are on the line and everything, and the power of the power is in the group dynamic and everything like that. And also it's a massive exhibition of their trust and how much they love each other. And it's not they're not all rubbing their hands together with glee, ooh hoo hoo, let's run a train on Bev. I feel like that's how people talk about it, but that isn't what it is. So yes, ordinarily if I hear, oh, there's a child sex scene in a book, I'd be like, what the fuck? But just in this case, just context and metaphor and intention wise, it's not written as this isn't 50 Shades of Pennywise in a book full of kids having their limbs ripped off and people being eaten and sinks that are spurting blood all over the place as a metaphor for a girl who's afraid that her dad is going to do something hideous to her because she's growing. I feel like there's too much focus on this sewer scene, I think. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed these rankings. I'd love to know what your rankings are. Let me know in the comments, and please